Good morning, Vande Matram. Welcome all of you. The topic we are going to discuss right now is on the inner divinity is the eternal avatar in man. The inner divinity is the eternal avatar in man. We'll discuss on avatarhood manifestation, avatarhood part 1. So we'll quote Sri Aurobindo on avatar. We know that the 10 avatars we have known from starting from Matsya avatar till death we have seen. Kalki avatar, Matsya avatar, Kachap avatar, then we came to have the Narasingha, then we have seen Varaha, Narasingha, Parsuram, Rama, like this we have seen Avatari, and it is Shri Krishna is Avatari. So of course it is a very interesting to see three Ramas are there included in that 10 avatars like Rama, Parsuram and Balaram. That's what we have seen so many ways. We have also seen the 10 avatars of the goddess. Those forms we have seen. Anyway, well now we'll see how Sri Aurobindo quotes. The inner divinity is the eternal avatar in man. There are divinity, it is actually concealed inside us. About many of the divinities are there, it is given to you, it is bestowed upon the human being, but the thing is that we don't know what really they are. So Sri Aurobindo quoted inner divinity, not the outer divinity, inner divinity, that is the eternal avatar in man. But actually, instead of knowing all these things, we are moving forward uh, like that Kasturi deer, Mruga. So this fragrance is coming from its navel position, but it is moving and searching here and there. And finally, what happens, without finding it, it is meeting its pathetic death. So, like this, avatarhood that is well bestowed upon you, that is well inside you, inner divinity is the eternal avatar in man. But actually, we go and pray something like standing right now on the supramental avatar, supramental age, and we are going back and moving back to worship something like Matsya avatar, Varaha avatar, like this. Anyway, some divinity is there, some spark is there, some presence is there, but the thing is that you have been elevated into the almost to your largest consciousness, and you have to think what next, what not the last. You should not come your retard your progress, either you must accelerate your consciousness to move on and on and on towards the greater heights, to have your identity with the supreme and to know the eternal avatar, supramental avatar. Anyway, the topic here is on avatarhood. We'll see. On avatar, here in the course, roughly speaking, is not who is conscious of the presence and power of the divine born in him, or descended into him and governing from within his will and life and action. So very interesting. Avatar, roughly speaking, here in the course, is not who is conscious of the presence and power of the divine born in him, presence and the power of the divine born in him, and descended means from up to top to bottom, top it has come, descended into him and governed from within his will and life and action. Three, will and life and action, it is governing, and he feels identified inwardly with the divine power and the presence, identified within the divine power, identified inwardly with the divine power and presence. This is not avatar, but actually what is that? But a vibhuti is supposed to embody some power of the divine. Most of the time during vibhutis also we have heard like Krishna so told, on the Dwapara only I became Vasudeva Krishna. Before I came Sambhavami Yuge Vike, I came like vibhutis or something. So vibhutis are very much prominent. You can find these vibhutis are supposed to embody some power of the divine, and enabled by it to act with a great force in the world. But this is all that is necessary to make him a vibhuti, at best a vibhuti. The power may be very great, but actually consciousness is not that of an inborn or indwelling divinity. So these vibhutis, it may be having that they are born, and they are of course possess some inner greater force of the greater force they inhabit. But the thing is that you must know all these are necessary to make a vibhuti, but a power is may be great with the vibhutis, but consciousness is not that of the inborn or indwelling divinity. That is the difference. That is the layer difference you can find. So Avatar takes upon himself the nature of humanity. Avatar, that is the work of the avatar. That is the responsibility, takes upon him the nature of humanity in the instrumental parts through the consciousness acting behind the divine. That is the main purpose of the avatar. Avatar takes upon himself the nature of humanity in his instrumental parts, and though the consciousness behind acting behind is divine. So this does not prevent Avatar from acting at the main act and using the movement of nature. They normally go through the normal process of acting, like they act like the normal man, how they act, like the normal men, and the movement of the nature for his life and work. That's what they do. So outwardly, superficially, when you observe the things, this is almost the same as the man he performs and as the nature he follows for his life and work. Surely, for the earth, consciousness is very fact that the divine manifests himself in the greatest of all splendor. That is the most interesting thing you must know. Very fact that divine manifests himself is the greatest of all the splendor. Whatever has been the whatever and however and wherever the greatest miracles, greatest splendors have been achieved or beheld or it is seen. The greatest of all the splendors is that the divine manifests himself in this world in before us. So that is the greatest miracle, the greatest of all miracles. So, so Sri Aurobindo here quotes about the vibhutis and the different sets of vibhutis and the power and the divinity of the indwelling divinity and the inborn divinity. Then Sri Aurobindo try to explain actually how does this avatars work, and this manifestation is definitely the greatest of all miracles. That's what Sri Aurobindo tried to explain us in this very beautiful paragraph. And then we will go. The divine put on an appearance of the humanity. Put on, he tries to wear. Put on the appearance of divinity, assumes the outward human nature in order to tread the path and show the human beings, but he does not cease to be divine. Very interesting things we can see. Most of the time, people keep asking the questions. Yes, they are moving like us. They are also like a human being. They are having the same hand and leg, and they are also taking food and all. So how can you feel that they are divine? So that's what Mother Sri Aurobindo clarifies. Appearance of humanity, put on an appearance of humanity. Second, and assumes the outward human nature. He goes to school, plays like your mother. You see playing some tennis, drawing the art and all. You see everything. Everything is possible. In order to tread the path, that purpose is to tread the path and show to the humanity. Humanity, you can find the humanity he wanted to show the human beings and show it to the human beings how to tread this path. He has traded, and of course he is trying to teach us the people. You also come and tread, but does not cease to be the divine. It is the manifestation that takes place, a manifestation of the growing divine consciousness, not the human turning to the divine. Human turning to the divine, then afterwards some change is there. It is not like this. It is the real thing, that the manifestation of the growing divine consciousness upon the earth. The mother is inwardly above the human even when is your childhood. So mother course, here in the course, mother was inwardly above the human, inwardly. Outwardly and superficially seeing, you know that stories, you know, getting somehow meditating, concentrating upon something, that power is manifesting. So mother, her human mother was asking, do you think so much serious that likely, it seems likely you are taking the entire burden of the world and all. This was, of course, it was it was explained, but the mother Sri Aurobindo directly tries to explain. Mother was from the beginning, inwardly above the human, even in her childhood. In Savitri, you have seen the earth nature quivered with illumined mind. She once again began her divine unfinished work. So, mother, you know, that is the what really the identity, and we get from Sri Aurobindo's, right, who really the mother is. But in this ordinarily speaking, we don't go into that depth, so we get collapsed somewhere. We don't know, we break through, but actually we don't know how to solve. When the divine descends, he takes upon himself the burden of humanity in order to exceed it. How shall we, the man who tread the path that is untreaded, unaccustomed? They have to go. So burden the human, take upon himself the burden of humanity in order to exceed it, and he becomes the human in order to show the humanity how to become the divine. For that, actually, the human birth, it is the secret of their human birth. They will tread, they will show the path, and they will exceed and make men exceed through the example and through their help and assistance. So but there can't be if there is only a weakling without any divine presence within and a divine force behind. Two things are there. One is presence with divine presence within and a divine force behind him. So two things must have: divine presence within and the divine force behind him. These two makes them really great because they possess, they bring with them. He has to be strong in order to be strong in order to put his strength into the who are willing to receive it. So these the two things must have. One, first, he must be to strong to put his strength into the who are willing to receive it. He must have strength. Second thing, actually, he must have the divine presence within and the divine force behind him. All these things are necessary. Divine behind, and then the divinity acts according to another consciousness, the consciousness of the truth, the consciousness of the truth above and the lila below. Two things, two ways it acts. So first, this is according, the divinity acts according to two principles. Number one is according to the another consciousness, the conscious of the truth from above, and the second, the lila below. So with this it acts according to the need of the lila, whenever and wherever whatever is required. That's what according to the lila. So this lila according to the lila, and not according to the man's idea that it should be so and it should not be so. It should be so, it should not be so. That is the man's expectation, and the man that way thinks. But I think that the real thing, what really matters, divine does the lila as according to the own use. Then the divine manifestation, even when it manifests mental and human ways, has behind it a consciousness greater than the mind. That manifestation of the consciousness that can't be understood by the mind, so it is beyond the human mentality. So mother quotes here divine manifestation here. The divine manifestation, even when it manifests in mental and human ways, has behind it a consciousness greater than the mind and not bound by the petty mental and moral conventions of the very ignorant human race. Ignorant race, man's race is ignorant, very ignorant human race, and they have got their mental setup and the moral setup, and it does not work according to the moral conventions and the mental way of this ignorant mortal race. It acts in its own way. It does not, you can't impose it. So that to impose these standards on the divine is to try to do what irrational and impossible. Never it can't accept your proposals, and according to you, it can't move because it has its own way of working. Because it is really that consciousness of a truth, and here the lila is going on. This lila according to the divine. Thank you. We'll start immediately part two.